Bring in the boss one, I'm gonna get mine. Go through the drum, if you can't do the time, don't tell me how you're off and down. When you're smiling in my face, but you play me like a clown, it's your fool bitch. So just step back, I'm a mad dad when I come down straight. I thought you were my beast, but you play me out. Now I'm mad as hell, and I'm full of doubt. Who you wanna roll with? Who you wanna roll with? Lefty, let's roll. Who you wanna roll with? Who you wanna roll with? Lefty, let's roll.
Providing of extra percussion.
Revolution machine. For what people stay, they sway. For today is good as any day. Y'all feel slightly this, let's resist. Raise your fist and pump like this. Promises over the top. Don't cross the line, but you know it's mine. Who you wanna roll with? Who you wanna roll with? Lefty, let's roll. Who you wanna roll with? Who you wanna roll with? Lefty, let's roll.
All right. Good evening, everybody. It's the Ignorance is No Excuse podcast. I'm here with Jim, Chris, Sue, Big Bear. I'm Lefty. Good evening, everybody.
Yes, it is.
Got a lot of stuff going on in New Jersey this week. Chris, you have a lot of stuff going on, man. Chris, can we start with you, please? You have so much, man. I don't even know where to start, but let's talk about the
my terrible background. I got my cluttered desk background for my old this is my mid-century modern oven, which I still have installed and used. It's beautiful. It really works. 1955 tech. So
where's Ben Franklin?
I took him to Harrisburg and then we put him in the grow tent. So he's chilling out in my car right now. But I'm going to Harrisburg on Monday. And I'm bringing Ben back to Harrisburg on Monday, so that'll be fun. So, Assemblyman Atkins is co-sponsoring the medical home grow bill now.
Yes.
That's big news.
Yes, it is.
You know, Assemblyman Atkins is brand new in the assembly, but he is not new in politics. He is pretty well known as the mayor of Roselle up there in North Jersey. And he's also a pretty big leader in the religious community. Reverend Atkins is how most people know him.
Huh.
So he's pretty well known in politics, which is why he got to be the committee chair of the Assembly Rules Committee in his first year. So you don't get that, wow. You know, it's like, yeah. Committee chairman.
Yeah.
So the fact that, and it was Kristen from Tricome, we were having a legislative call the other day, and we brought up the bill, and we were all looking at it last week, and she was like, "Look, who's this Reginald Atkins guy?" And I'm like, "What?" And I'm like, that's Assemblywoman Reynolds Jackson's bill, and like Benji Wimberly's on that, you know. And and again, Reginald Atkins was just, this is his first year. So he just came in January. So it's not like he was left over from last year on it or anything. So he is the chairman of the Rules Committee where the medical home grow bill, Assembly 846, is sitting. And, you know, the last week, there was a hearing at that same committee. It wasn't a hearing, it was an information session, where Bill Caruso and NJEDA and NJCRC came out and they rolled out all the rose-colored glasses. And he was chairing that hearing along with the vice chair, which is Assemblyman Fryman. So, who is one of our supporters, and Joanne Zito mentioned that Assemblyman Fryman is somebody who totally supports home grow. And Assemblyman Fryman brought up home grow to Jeff Brown at NJCRC. There was much discussion of home grow in that committee hearing, even though it wasn't like on the agenda, quote unquote. And that was surprising to everybody there. So it was really, really cool to see Assemblyman Atkins, the chairman of the committee, as the co-sponsor now. I think that's good news for us. That means that we're getting shut down in the Senate, but we can ask this Rules Committee if they'll have a hearing. I think, Jim, you mentioned in a chat somewhere Speaker Coughlin. So for those who aren't into the political, who watch more football than politics, because I watch more politics than football.
Me as well.
Here's how it works. In the Senate, we have a Senate president and there's a leadership. And members of the Senate who run committees can post bills to their committee. But if the Senate president decides they don't want to see a bill in front of a committee, they can pull it out. In the Assembly, there's somebody called the Speaker. And in this case, that's Craig Coughlin. He's from South Jersey. And he's a long-time Assemblyman. I mean, gosh, Jim, what, like 30 years he's been in the...
Long time.
Yeah, I mean...
And he stayed out of this sort of discussion. He's been real... He's never had reason to be pinned down, particularly with the bill in Herb Conway's committee, because he wasn't going to want to bring that up anyway. But now it is an issue. And would it be wrong to directly, in the best manner possible, meaning nothing to do with me, ask Speaker Coughlin if he's going to pull a Scutari or not? I mean, there's a history here.
I very much doubt that Craig Coughlin wants to be as stubborn and feel any way about this. You know what I mean?
Why we shouldn't need to wait for things to start to unroll? It's like, okay, he either is going to stop it or he's not going to stop it, because if it's the head of the committee as a co-sponsor, he wants it heard. So Coughlin is the only thing between that and it getting a hearing, as far as I can see.
I have to say that in my experience dealing with Craig Coughlin as the Assembly Speaker, he's not as micromanaging as Nick Scutari is.
I agree.
So he just doesn't go around pulling bills off like Nick does. So yeah. I'm less worried about that.
Yeah, still a fair question to ask him, though. I mean, I would go. I think,
I agree.
And I think he would appreciate it done in the nicest of ways with somebody like, I don't know, Chris Goldstein asking them, or a Bill Caruso or somebody other than Lefty or Jim, and certainly not Ken.
I think that
no offense, Ken, if you watch this.
I think if you run into Craig Coughlin at the local Starbucks, you're fine asking him anything, Jim, and you should. But like, I don't know Jim, whoever can get to his staff and get an answer on this question. Well, I'm not going to say it's me. So whoever can.
I have an idea. There's those 4 offices within the old State House: the Senate Majority Office, the Senate Minority Office, the Assembly Majority Office, and the Assembly Minority Office. There's an office where if I want to get something to somebody, they have like the same thing as an inbox, or they get it to them. It's always a good place to go, and there's always somebody there to talk to. So if you do it like in the nicest of ways, sometimes you get through. I took Philippe Dumais to the Assembly Majority Office some years back, and it was a matter of, yes, okay, we'll let them know. And I go, is there anybody we could talk to? He goes, no, I'm sorry, blah, blah, blah. I said, okay, but I want you to understand you're turning away a combat veteran who has a stake in this. Oh, hold on a second. And then we got in and met Furquan for the first time. It's sort of like you never know how it's going to turn out. And I'm 25 minutes away. So I'm probably going to take a really benign shot at it, just, without getting into detail. I don't know how I would phrase the patients have good right to worry that you might pull a Scutari, and they had 3 years of being blocked out. And this is really good news on the surface, but nobody knows how to take it yet, because, is it going to be allowed
nobody's
to be heard?
Asked. Let's see what I mean. So we find out that Nick wants to remove the bill when we try and get it posted, right? So what we're going to have to do is ask Assemblyman Atkins and Freeman to post the bill at the Rules Committee and see if and give Assembly Speaker Coughlin the opportunity. Now they've got a lot of budget stuff coming up, but it's within, it's funny. There's nothing really on the Rules Committee agenda. There was nothing on that committee's agenda until they popped up with that hearing out of the blue last week. So it's kind of an obscure committee, honestly.
Oh, it is, but the bill could be heard nonetheless, and it's the exact same bill in the Senate committee. So senators then could get the information from the Assembly hearing, which is
that would be transmitted.
Which is something that's awesome. Keep in mind, I don't know if you're back in the day, Assembly Speaker Joe Roberts didn't want Reed Guccioro's bill posted until after the lame duck session. And Senator Scutari didn't honor that and posted it before he was supposed to. Joe Roberts went ballistic, according to Roseanne Scotti. And she thought I had something to do with him. Oh, I'm out of this one. But my point is it's a role reversal now. I mean, it's a direct reversal. He doesn't want it heard. And the Assembly could jump the gun on him, just like he jumped the gun on the Assembly. It'd be like a full circle. But see, knowing
that's
that
politics, Jim.
It's also part of a really good narrative that people can kind of understand, like chickens coming home to roost, whatever that means. I know when to say it. This is it.
There's definitely some roosting chickens in New Jersey.
Yeah,
so
well, this is progress. No matter how we slice it up, you see I'm smiling, right? I mean, no matter how this works out, and I'm real glad you had pulled the reins on me last week. It's working out nice, and I'm glad I followed your sage advice to a degree.
Jim, you're my friend, and I support and Lefty. I support you guys no matter what you want to do.
And you're 12 minutes away from me right now.
I'm glad that we had that talk. So
yeah. I also think next time it should be in person, and we can split one up. I can try. I'll be at your house. 12 minutes. I could right now be over there, and we could sit there.
We should. Well, I was thinking about that. I was like, man, me and Jim should hang out and do the podcast together one night. You know what I mean? That would be really fun.
Yeah. Yes. I would stop by for that. It'd be fun.
So so that's the home grow bill. Progress from last week. We got great press at that press conference. We really pushed the issue forward.
Yes, congrats on that. That was a good job.
You couldn't miss it, but also too, I think it's important that we own the day. I think it's kind of funny looking back in the last couple of years, the industry and the governor like to celebrate the anniversary of legalization on the day sales started. And I'm glad that we took the advantage of celebrating legalization on the day that, the bills were actually signed, because in other states, that is the day that they usually use. So it's kind of funny. Anyway, I think that we did all the right things last week. I think we hit all the right notes. And I'm glad that we really gathered the community together in Trenton. I think it was important. So, and it was great to see this new generation, man. Honestly, like it's become a generational thing. And I feel old now, so it's cool to see there's young people working on it. And but the other thing is, I think as far as home grow goes, I think our new strategy is to get it heard in the Assembly, and then pursue something else in the Senate, which is this next bill that's coming up. So Jim and
what next bill is coming up? What is that?
Right. So I sent this around to Lefty, and I'm going to send it around to you tonight, Jim. How do you feel about putting price caps on medical cannabis? And I don't mean a price cap on the whole market. I mean a price cap on an individual operator.
Yeah, well, I'm good with that, but my original idea, I still like, it'll never fly now, is when it was all about, well, we got to start the legalization through the existing dispensary network, and all that went on, and I thought, okay, with all that's at stake, and it seems to me like I would have been okay with adult prices being higher slightly than patient prices, because patients spending all their money, the price did come down some. I mean, from the incredible prices in the beginning. My point being that the price difference, they would be subsidizing patient costs a little bit. In other words, you could get a real, and yeah, I'm sorry for adults that have to pay more to get patients their medicine, but I'm that kind of guy,
I think I hear you, but let's just see how it might work. So
Yeah.
in Pennsylvania, there are price caps built into the medical marijuana law. They've never been utilized, but the threat is there.
Yeah.
And the fact that the threat is there helps,
Hmm.
is that my place in the background? Sorry. But
No, it could be here.
the fact that
Yeah.
the threat of the price caps is there helps people really helps them negotiate better prices with large manufacturers. So basically, in Pennsylvania, they had a price cap built into the medical marijuana law. And in 2022, the Pennsylvania Department of Health medical marijuana program director exposed price gouging. He used part of the price cap section is the price monitoring, which means that in order to cap prices, you have to study them. And in that section of the law, the Pennsylvania medical marijuana program director, his name was John Collins, he monitored prices and then released it publicly. And he was able to show that the wholesale price was going down, but the retail price was going up. And without ever having to institute a price cap, just the fact that they were there and they could give the regulator some teeth, the prices in Pennsylvania have gone down in the last 2 years on average on every category of products by 50%. That means that you get an ounce in Pennsylvania right now from Curaleaf or Ascend or TerraSend about $100, and you can get an eighth for 18. All day, every day, you can get vape pens for half of what they are in New Jersey. Concentrates the same. Why are these companies charging so much less in Pennsylvania? And I'll tell you what, when you get calls from guys in Brooklyn and they're like, damn, Chris, I went to a New Jersey dispensary and it was so expensive. When some dude in New York City is telling you that the Jersey weed is expensive, we have a serious problem. Because the shit in New York City should be way more expensive than it is here. Okay? Way more expensive. It should be, but it's not. And we have a real problem right here in New Jersey right now because now we're in the hyperinflated bubble and regulators currently have no tools. They can complain about prices like we do to the big operators, but they don't have a tool to rein the prices in or even monitor them effectively. On Monday, Senator Singleton is going to introduce a bill that would give the NJCRC the tools to both monitor the prices and put caps on them. And not just the whole market. They wouldn't be like putting a market cap. They'd be saying, oh, individual operator, it looks like you're charging less in New York and New Jersey. We're going to cap it at your Pennsylvania price for 6 months and see how that works out. So,
Yes.
I think that this could I think that again in Pennsylvania they weren't deployed, but the fact that they're there give teeth to regulators. And I think that New Jersey, you mentioned, when the first dispensaries opened in New Jersey, Jim, they were charging $60 and $70 an eighth. And today they're charging $60 and $70 an eighth. And along the whole line, people said, oh my gosh, Chris, the prices are going to come down. Just wait. And then along the way, they were like, oh, geez, we got supply problems. Oh my God. It's so expensive. We had mites in our grow. Our
COVID.
lawyers charged us so much. Our investors ran off with our bank. There were so many excuses along the way, but the truth is every state around us managed with the same companies under a very similar regulatory regime to deliver prices half as much. I think we need to give regulators the same tools that Pennsylvania has, give our regulators some teeth, and I think Senator Singleton might be on board with that.
I think we got to get rid of our legislators. We got to, okay, Nick Scutari needs to get rid of his aversion to looking to other states to see how things work, which is the beauty of having all these states do what they knew. We don't have to screw up. We can watch somebody else screw up or not and get surprised. But when it comes to this, it's sort of like this can't be news to people who are doing this in New Jersey. They know it's cheaper everywhere else. They know
It's
what they're
also
doing,
not like
even
the
if we
menus
don't.
are secret, Jim. The menus are all online.
Yeah, well, I mean, you
So it's
do a
like if
great
you're a
job.
duchy,
You
you could
compare them all the
switch
time.
between. Go
Yeah.
ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I'm just saying you provide a wonderful comparison service every now and again. I don't know how regular, but when you do, it's complete, and it really does show, and it doesn't make sense.
It
So
doesn't make sense for a New
yeah,
Jersey weed to be so expensive.
yeah.
And it doesn't help the small businesses that are trying to resell a wholesale corporate product.
So you
Like they're
think,
getting,
Can I say
we're getting,
something?
yeah.
yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Let me just introduce myself because Chris doesn't know me. Chris, I'm Sue
Oh.
Rosen. I'm representing the Cannabis Nurses Network, and you may or may not have heard of it, but it doesn't matter either
Yeah.
way. Because I'm from Jersey. I lived in New York for 20 years. I just recently moved back. Okay. In New York, you probably know, we have home grow laws. So I forgot all about that when I came back here. That you guys don't have that. All right. In New York,
Soon to change.
one person can grow up to 6 plants. Now you can have 6 people living in your house, and each of those people can grow 6 plants. So that's a lot of weed. Okay. When you think about it. All right. So the prices, they tend to fluctuate in New York a lot, especially in the city. You know what? Black market's alive and well. And that's what I think you need to get across to to our legislative people, like, hello, people could just say, you know what, fuck it. We're gonna grow anyway.
Yeah.
Okay.
They
And
are.
we're gonna
I
sell
mean,
just like we've been selling all these years.
oh no, I believe me, I think that's clear. I make it clear to legislators that one of the biggest things as a consumer advocate, Sue, I have always talked, even before legalization, journalists have asked me, how many people smoke weed in New Jersey, right? And we have some data to tease this out, but there's about 8-9 million people who are in the state every day. So I imagine that there's about 1.5 million people, at least, who are gonna consume some cannabis on the average day, just in the state of New Jersey. Could be twice that. Could be 3 million of our 9 million consume cannabis in a single day. So the idea that everybody could afford a $65 eighth, and Sue, I haven't paid 65. I can't afford a $65 eighth. That $65 eighth is going to have to spend the day with me and clean my kitchen. I can't afford like $65 is what I would pay for day labor to help me on my bathroom. I can't afford to spend that on weed. Okay. So the idea that a 65 anybody can afford that other than BMW driving millionaire bros in Newark or something, like nobody can afford a $65 eighth in New Jersey. This is a state where people make $15 an hour. That would require me working a $15 an hour job half my day for an eighth of weed. So
Okay.
Ow.
okay, so I hear you about the underground market, and believe me, I'm trying to impress upon legislators, because the other thing that they ask me a lot is, so I estimate that there's 2 to 3 million people who are going to buy and sell, or I'm sorry, buy and consume marijuana in New Jersey in a day. And then they're like, oh, Chris, we have 100 dispensaries open. Isn't that great? And I'm like, oh my God. Like, think for a minute here. We have 2 million people who are going to consume cannabis, and there's only 100 dispensaries open. I'm like, let's take this back in time. Let's imagine it's 1995, and there's only 100 weed dealers in the entire state of New Jersey. 100 people in the entire state who have all the marijuana. I'll bet you at 6 a.m. there's 5,000 people lined up in front of each one of those 100 doors waiting to get some weed. We need 100 dispensaries as a drop in the bucket. The truth is that consumers in New Jersey, if you want to talk about the legacy market, there's likely 20,000, 25,000 part-time weed dealers out there to serve us. In my experience, not many of my weed dealers made it a full-time job. Most of them were doing it as a side hustle. not everybody is like trying to deal weed like that. And that's the beauty of the organic underground legacy market. So I'm not sure. Like, I think that the experiment of the last 20 years in retail cannabis on the state regulated scale is kind of goofy. I'm not sure that I've ever met a weed dealer who only ever just sells weed. It's part of their whole business model. They're selling all kinds of things. That is a side hustle to their whole business. We don't even know, quite frankly, if a store that only sells cannabis products can actually be a successful small business. All right. Like, I do think that a store that sells cannabis alongside food, drinks, retail items, something else, just like alcohol. I mean, there are very few establishments other than a canals type liquor store that only sell alcohol, but you will see alcohol integrated as a side by side into so much else. So, and as far as medical cannabis goes, again, like, we're missing out on that institutional buy. Like, when it comes to the nursing side of things, we don't have the marijuana friendly retirement homes. Like, there should be retirement homes full of old people with nurses taking them their cannabis products all day long. Like, that's what and quite frankly, I'm 48. This whole generation of being older, they're going to want that.
Why don't
Like,
we have
we
that?
should be building that out. Oh, do you
Why
want
don't
to
we
run a
have the
retirement
nurses?
home? You want to run a retirement home?
Well, how come we don't have nurses doing this? We have the Jay Koenig law, which allows
It's
for
possible.
caregivers.
It would be
We don't have
okay.
it.
The
Okay.
short answer to this is that all of it is possible, but nobody has structured for it. So the nursing homes themselves have to structure for it. Somebody has to create, there are all kinds of partner services that come into a retirement facility or an aging facility. They offer exercise, music, art. You could have a set of nurses come in once a day or once a week and serve people's cannabis needs. The nursing home and the third party service would have to work together. All that structure is there under the Jay Koenig Act and exists today.
Well, they're
Nobody's really-
adults too. I mean, in a nursing home, they're as adult as you can get. And it's in a state where it's legal for adults. And I say not only that, but couple it with 3D glasses so they could go somewhere else other than a
Wow.
freaking nursing home. They get
I think it's
high,
more like,
they put
all
it
right,
on, oh, look at this, I mean.
I think it's also like they need smoking areas because there's like lots of oxygen and stuff around, Jim. So
Yeah.
even
Oh,
vape pens might
yeah,
set those things
there's a
off.
lot to
Fun times.
consider,
We don't
yeah.
want to blow the old people up. All right. I mean, in that way, we want to blow their
Okay,
mind.
let me tell you a little bit about nursing, first of all.
Yes, you-
Regulations are different in every state, just like anything else. Okay. We're a lot behind the West Coast, and we're a lot behind the West Coast in a lot of things when it comes to this. Cannabis has just been recognized as a nursing specialty just recently by the American Nurses Association, which is just another state association or state organization or United States organization, whatever the fuck you want to call it. And they're just moneymakers. So that's all that says. It just says that it's been recognized. We have not been sanctioned to work as in a specialty uniform, for lack of a better word to use. Okay.
Did you
What I
say
did in-
specialty
this is-
uniform?
No, I'm just using it as a word.
Okay.
All right. There's no uniforms. When I was in New York, the only thing I did was take patients through the whole process. All right. And that's about all I was allowed to do, by law. Okay. So we as nurses have come together, and this is a global network that we put together, but it's also still in its infancy many years later, to get everybody together on the same page. So it's the same thing, it's the same thing. Now I live in Bergen County, okay, and I can tell you that where I live, around every street corner, there's a pot shop, there's a weed shop. Okay,
My God,
so
Bergen County is the most mob county in New Jersey, right? I mean, it's
no,
like literally.
Hudson County is, and I have family
They're
in both.
both, right? They're both.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
like one
yeah.
mob runs one and another
Yes,
mob runs.
yes, and I'm
Yeah,
related to them all.
like a
So
different family.
I kid you not. Um, so why, you know why I'm here? I'm here because like I really like these two guys. Um, but I would like to work with you all and be able to have our network help out and because it also helps us, you know, be recognized, have our regulations changed, you know, how have our license permissions changed so that we can go into, like you said, a nursing home. Okay, because from 48 on, you got me in a nursing home already. um they should be able to bring in their weed. Of course they should. Of course. A nurse should be able to go in as whether she's an end of life nurse, a hospice nurse, what have you, you know, she should be able to give that patient what they need. We
I
can do
can
that
tell
in
you
New
my
York.
own experience. So I
We can
broke
do
my
it in New
leg.
York.
Well, in New Jersey, they're good about this, right?
Mhm.
Peter, they're good and bad about it. In Pennsylvania, they're extra good in hospitals right now. So if you're a nurse in a hospital, and the rules in Pennsylvania's medical marijuana program have been improved for nurses to be involved, nurse practitioners to be involved all along the way. So if you're in a hospital in Pennsylvania, the first thing they'll ask you is, would you consider becoming a medical marijuana patient? And they'll sort of help you in that process. In New
Okay. A
Jersey,
nurse
they won't do
practitioner,
that.
though, wait a minute. Understand the difference, though. A nurse practitioner has the same licensing as a physician as
Hmm.
far as prescribing. So, you know, there's a
I,
freedom there. I'm a registered
yes.
nurse. I'm not a nurse practitioner.
Well, no, what's nice about the nurse practitioners in Pennsylvania is that they can make the medical cannabis recommendation along with doctors. So they can actually register
Well, they can
patients.
do that here too. They
In
can
New
do that
Jersey,
here.
in
Yeah.
New Jersey that
Yeah.
they in
Nurse
theory have been
practitioner can.
able in theory that they have been able to allow that because the odd relationship of nurse practitioners and how it actually works in the real world here because of their relationship with doctors in New Jersey, we haven't seen it happen in New Jersey the way we have in Pennsylvania.
Mhm.
Our biggest bottleneck, Sue, is that in New Jersey, we had the first registry requirement for health professionals to make the medical cannabis recommendation. That scared the crap out of them and made most of them not participate. In Pennsylvania, we have roughly, I don't know, around 11,000 physicians who make the recommendations, and there are 1 million people with a medical marijuana card in Pennsylvania.
Mhm.
In New Jersey, there's 1,500 recommending medical professionals and 93,000 patients. So, like, you can see the difference between the participation there and what happens with the patient registrations. Our biggest bottleneck in the medical marijuana program in New Jersey is simply getting patients registered. In Pennsylvania, you can walk into an urgent care and get your medical marijuana card. Can't do that in New Jersey. No, and as soon as we can, we'll get to 1 million patients pretty quick. New Jersey has a lot of these places, but they have been um, sort of illogically cut off from doing the majority of work that we see happening in Pennsylvania every day. It's so weird, the difference between the two state programs, and to see such a robust program in Pennsylvania and to see a program on life support in New Jersey. Rather.
Yeah, yeah. I gotta get my hands into more of what is happening in Jersey now that I'm settled.
Well, prepare to be underwhelmed, at least at the moment. And we're going to do better. We're actually really on the verge of a lot of really good improvements. I think after 3 years of adult use and a lot of broken promises by big companies, I do think that there's an appetite amongst legislators and regulators to see a better, more robust medical marijuana program. I don't think that they're screwing around on this. I think that they really want it. I think that they are looking at next door to Pennsylvania and looking at 1 million registered patients and scratching their heads and going, how did we how do we go a different way so hard here, you know? So I think 1 million patients would be totally achievable in New Jersey, by the way. I've heard arguments that people don't want to register. I don't think that that's much of a hurdle. I mean, I register for a fishing license. People register for firearms. People register for all kinds of crap. I'm sure they'll register for cheaper weed. And if they're legitimately medical patients, they will because there's a lot of benefits to it. So I don't think that there's a registry hang up per se. I just think that there's a huge bottleneck on medical professionals willing to make the recommendation.
You know, I can speak from my own experience. My husband is a surgeon, and he was one of the docs that did when Jersey first legalized for medical patients. He was on ABC News, to just say, it's about time and blah blah blah. But you know what? It's not a moneymaker for the docs. Okay, so they shy
Not supposed
away.
to be.
So a lot
Yeah.
of the ones, and I'm just telling you from up, where I'm from. Okay. A lot of the docs kind of shied away from that because that's all they were getting was patients that wanted medical marijuana cards. Right. There's no money in that for them. They don't get paid by insurance. These are usually people that, they just don't know what else to do. So they figure they'll get a card, and that's it. That's it. And these guys they go to school for a long time. So there's a hesitancy there. So the whole structure in healthcare needs to be relooked at, especially in a state like this.
Yeah, Sue, I understand that. That's what I'm saying. If you could go to your urgent care and get your medical marijuana card, you wouldn't seek out a surgeon for it. But the problem in New Jersey was they required a registry. So few doctors turned up, and they cut it off from the broad network of 30,000 physicians that when the few who signed up, they were the only doctors that people could go to.
Mhm.
They did that on purpose to mess with us. That was Chris Christie's plan. Now we've gotten away from that, but still we have the bottleneck. Again, in Pennsylvania, there's more than 10,000 physicians who are willing to do it. We got to figure out what the problem is here in New Jersey.
Okay, so let us help you. We'll help you.
I believe that is the biggest bottleneck in New Jersey is
Okay.
just getting health networks. See, in Pennsylvania, entire health networks sent out letters to their doctors to make the recommendation. Penn Health, Jefferson, Temple, you name it. All the big health networks did
Mhm.
that. So if you could get the big health networks to send letters out and say, make medical cannabis recommendations, done. They can do it. There is some back talk I've heard from physicians and nurses along the way about medical malpractice insurance, but I think that that's
That's
like
not an issue.
it's like a knee-jerk reaction by people, but it's not in reality an issue. So, but that's a big bottleneck here. Anyway, I've got about 10 more minutes left. Any other questions before I gotta go?
Chris, yeah, I have a question about Cannabis Patient Awareness Day on July 10th.
Okay, that's far out.
Well, it's 120 some odd days. We'd like to
That's
see
far
if we
out.
can
That's
get,
far out.
well, to try to get 50 states
It
involved.
only took me 75 days to sail from Ventura, California to Miami, Florida on a
But
boat.
the last two July 10th, there was a lot of, oh, what we should have done earlier? What we should have done earlier to get other states involved. So to start to get other states represented from their capital with somebody that would take part, is pretty much the goal now.
I
Uh,
think that you should give people defined time commitments. Right now, you are asking everybody to be Jerry Lewis and be on a 24-hour telethon. I think that you should make slots that time where people are in their time
yeah,
zone,
that's what
like
Lefty
an
tried to do.
eclipse
Yeah,
crossing the country.
that was last
But
year. Yeah.
but you give these people who you're going to invite a defined time.
Didn't Lefty? Did you do? I mean, you were doing that last year,
We
weren't
did
you?
that
No,
last
no,
year.
no. Give them a defined time when you invite them, not just, oh, will you participate today? And we'll give you a time
Yeah,
slot.
yeah. Well, that's why we're
So
not waiting, and then why we're starting now for things like that, and to have time to work that out, across 3 time zones, and it's like yeah, it's going to be part zoo, part circus, part whatever, but it gives patients one day a year. I mean, it's sort of like Patient Awareness Day. And that's always going to be necessary because patients are never going to come in first. It's just, I have no hope of that ever. There's a lot of other interests that come first before patients along the way before they get the
I
medicine.
think that you're underselling the issue. In my experience in politics, medical health care for old people who vote and get Social Security is actually top on the list of what most politicians talk about. Old people vote. They want your vote. And patients, I've heard politicians wax long and poetic about providing pain medication right before we had that crazy opiate crisis. I've heard politicians go to the mat for all kinds of medical stuff, which I'm like, that seems like a specialty, but whatever. I think that you're underselling the issue, and the truth is
I don't
that
know
the
what
older we get,
I don't know what
the
that means.
more important we are to those politicians. We're the
We-
voters. We're that crowd. We are that crowd that they want, Jim.
I appreciate being brought down to your crowd like 15 years or whatever.
Look, it takes getting old.
Yeah.
It takes aging into being important to politicians.
Yeah.
Now we're important. So
Well,
there you go.
no, I don't know what I'd be underselling. I don't want to undersell anything, but I don't really know what you meant by that. I'm not
You
taking
said that
offense.
you didn't think that patients would ever, you've given up on the fact that patients would ever come first. And I'm telling
Right.
you that the older you get, the
Yeah.
more important you are to politicians,
Yeah.
and that patients do
Yeah.
come first to them because again, we have aged into the category of being
When I
important.
say
by
patients, I
politicians.
mean medical cannabis patients. I don't mean
And that is what I
patients.
mean too.
No, they haven't come in first in New Jersey for a long time, Chris. Come on, you know better than that.
I agree with that, but I am not giving. I am
You're
disagreeing.
not giving up hope.
I'm
No,
not.
no,
right.
I've not given up hope. It's just that
You
the
just
reason
said
I
that you did.
haven't,
That's why I said all that.
no, I want people to know that up until now, they've come in second, and the only reason they don't come in second is if there's a third concern, then they come in third. They don't come first. They haven't come first. They will come first. And basically, it just seems to me that if they came first, it wouldn't be 3 years for a freaking hearing in either committee. That's not coming in first. It's waiting, and they are dying while waiting and going broke while waiting, and whole families live in misery while they're waiting. And they are going to come in first. I feel more hope today than I have in years.
That's good
I
because
no, I really do. But
you
I'm
should
not-
because
yeah.
there's a lot happening. We're going to get this price cap bill in the Senate. We got this home grow bill in the Assembly.
I'd like
I think
to
that there's a lot of good stuff
and
going on.
I think Ken's real right about one thing in particular is having PAAD and Senior Gold be able to subsidize patients, registered patients' cannabis is awesome. And the fact that it passed early in the session last year without no dissent at all. I mean, Senator Dick Cody didn't vote. He didn't vote for it, but he's in the committee and didn't vote against it. So I don't know that I don't hear much about it now. And I think
I'll be honest
all
with you.
avenues.
I think that this price cap bill is an important part of that. I think in order to ask taxpayers to essentially subsidize medical
I'm not
cannabis,
asking them, I'm telling them.
fair enough. You can use a different word there. But if you're going
Demanding then.
if you're going to use taxpayer money
I'm messing
to
with you.
subsidize medical cannabis, do you want taxpayers to get price gouged in the
No,
process?
okay, what
like
I want is I want taxpayers to say, why don't you let them grow?
And we all agree,
Because
hold
you know.
on a second, Jim.
Okay.
We all agree on one thing, that when we legalize home grow, 100% of patients won't be doing it.
Oh,
And that
nowhere near.
the weed at dispensaries will still be
10%.
expensive. So that I do not see price caps as either or. I see it as both,
Yes.
part and parcel.
And there's probably more that can also help push that direction, but none of this to me seemed remotely possible till I'm coming to understand there is a possibility of this bill having a hearing, a committee hearing, don't care, Senate Assembly. I want to see that happen, and then I can only imagine. It'll take its course then. It's just, it won't happen with a de facto censorship of every, and I gotta remind people, there's a lot of people gonna come say stuff against it. It's not one big love fest for homegrown. You know, they're gonna come out of the woodwork to, I mean, there's no Dave Evans and Terry Farley
Nobody's
anymore,
coming
but
out against homegrown. It's a political,
yeah.
it's an internal political fight at this point.
Everybody
I
won't
don't
be
think we have
for it
any
now.
opposition to it.
Yeah,
Who's going to come out against it?
legislatively, there's going to be people that show up and they're going to be fun. It'll be amusing because
I
it's
think
not.
that the insurance, you remember how the insurance company, the Insurance Regulatory Board of New Jersey came out and they said they did this during medical marijuana and adult use. They had their time at the hearing to say that they thought that statistically, if we legalized marijuana, there would be more insurance write-offs, people falling off of ladders,
Hmm.
crashing cars. All that's not true, but they came out and said it. I don't I don't even know if they're gonna come out and say it this time. I don't know. I was really somebody asked me this, they're like, if you have a bill on home grow up, who would come out to oppose it?
Drug rehab concerns.
Nope.
Well, they have. I'm not. I think you're probably
No, they
right.
won't show up. They will
And
not show up. They won't show
awesome.
up.
Then we'll own the building that day. This is better than ever. Then.
I don't think that there's much, if any, opposition. I think there could be some, but it wouldn't be the usual suspects.
Yeah. Well, if somebody comes in, looks like they got a mask on and wants to testify, it could be Scutari. You know, I mean, he doesn't want it. You know,
Everybody knows him.
big mustache, maybe.
Everybody knows him by his suit. So it's 7:57. I got to go in 3 minutes. What was I going to say?
Can I give you a press release that maybe you can give out to the normal chapters around the U.S. to see who's interested in taking part?
Yes.
I want to start. I want to start early and see who's interested. We got Hawaii this year. I'm excited. We have Hawaii. Yes, that's a good one.
I'm happy to help.
I'm happy to show up too.
And yeah, I can't think of anything else before I go. Any other questions?
That's a lot. That's a lot in one night.
That was a great hour.
Yeah.
Oh, it's nice meeting you. Well, nice meeting you, Sue. Everybody have a good night, and I'll talk to y'all later.
Thank you. Later,
Nice to meet you too. Have a good night.
Have a good one.
Now go away.
I always feel smarter after he gets off. I just feel smarter now. I feel more well informed. I'm so well informed.
You know, and I like that now with Sue here, it's like the balancing effect on Chris, where I get to know. I mean, I get to listen and read between lines and stuff. You know, Chris is a source of information, and we don't always agree. You know, and sometimes it's pretty contested, but it never feels bad at the end. And he is 15 minutes away. And last time that happened on a podcast, and I'm like, you know, come on, man, why are we doing this? I'm like, come over and we can do this smoking a joint. It would be fun. You know, I mean, if it's a disagreement, to do that with somebody that it's not like it doesn't affect anything in the relationship we have as advocates and have for a long time. You know, I met Chris when he interviewed me while I was walking my petition signatures to Trenton from Seaside in 2007 to run for New Jersey State Senate. And he was the normal National Normals podcaster. So he came and just on the other side of the bridge out of Seaside at he did an interview there with me and had a rest before I set out on the rest of the 58-mile push to, you know, whatever it takes. It was like, I made that walk 4 times. You know, it's not that, well, it was that bad when I had good feet. And it's, things are different now with this bill in a committee and any possibility of it getting heard, because we've had to go back so far to narrow it down that Lefty will tell you, I spent the last couple of months reminding everybody all the time, this has to be about having an informational hearing. We're talking about whether the bill will pass or not. No, it has to have a hearing, because without that hearing, what I say to people, whether I believe it or not, I like to tell legislators that it's the best source of their information for a lot of reasons. And I don't care what their opinions are without the hearing. Their opinion should be, I don't know where they get their information. There's a lot of echo chamber truths that aren't true, things going on.
Mhm.
And that's what the hearing's for, to sort shit out, you
Right.
know. And I've seen heads of committee, of course, say, excuse me, I need to know, where did you get that? You know, that they'll take issue with people giving testimony. And I love seeing that, you know, but it's also where the human face is put on. And people like Andrea, when they show up at a hearing, all it took was for her to show up at a healthcare committee. Andrea's she has is it epilepsy? It's a seizure disorder. Lefty, is it epilepsy?
She has epilepsy, and she
Do I know
basically
her?
uses some terps to trigger and some terps to heal her seizures. It's crazy.
Yeah, something weird. But she's also very compelling. She's a slight physical stature, good shape, you know.
Do I know
Just
her? This sounds familiar.
well, no, she kind of came onto the scene relatively recently, but she makes a compelling argument about growing her own for the exact strain she needs, and
Mhm.
she's the perfect one to make that argument.
Mhm.
And when she showed up with Lefty at a health committee meeting, had nothing to do with this. She signed up to speak, and Joe Vitelli, Chairman Vitelli, said, listen, this isn't what this is about, but I'd like to hear what you have to say. So she got to speak at, you know, just that wouldn't happen for me or Lefty or anybody else, you know?
Mhm.
So in a hearing in the assembly, for her and others to show up with any kind of hope, it's going to be, and it'll be a media bonanza, not to mention that. I mean, that will bring the media out, and we can have all the right people there. And
Mhm.
that the game's over. I mean, at that point, everybody will, it's over. It'll start to work towards some sort of
Yeah, it'll
home grow
roll.
for patients. And the only problem I have is Nick Scutari mentioned, and there's video of it on a Spotlight New Jersey installment of with Brianna Venozzi interviewing Nick Scutari for like about 8 minutes. And she asked the question about a home grow for patients. And right away, he convoluted it by talking about home go and the legalization program, and then got back to, but for medical for patients, I'm sure there some sort of program will happen. First of all, I'd like to tell them programs don't happen. You legislate or don't legislate them. You know, don't put that in some sort of passive tense when you're blocking this shit. Oh man, it really pisses me off. But he also said, I think you see some kind of program, probably a very strict program where only the sickest or people in the most pain are, you know, he started,
Like the end of life program that we have
yeah,
in Jersey.
but he, yeah,
It's the sickest. Yeah.
yeah, but however, this is keeping people from getting to be the sickest.
Mhm.
So by saying no, not now, wait when you're ready to die, we'll give it to you, you know.
Mhm.
And Jeff Oakes never had his question answered. How do I live in a state that will help me die, but not help me live by letting me grow? And Governor Murphy never answered that question. But it's the pilot, if you want to call it a pilot program, it's registered patients. They're already vetted to a degree. They're the perfect, and they're also the aggrieved party. You know, we got legacy operators now. It's sort of like because they were the black and gray area that all now, oh, that's right. It's an okay thing. We'd like to invest you in the front of the line here. It's sort of like patients have paid their dues already, literally money they shouldn't be spending.
Yeah.
It would be, I think, as wrong as could be, and that you can't start dividing patients within the program either. I mean, what are you gonna do? You know, they proved they don't know how to do things when they had the 7 original indications for getting in the program. And now, of course, we've had to add all sorts of things when it should have been, if a doctor recommends it, that's good enough. He's the doctor, you know, it's a patient, the doctor approved. So we've done things wrong every step of the way. And to do anything other than registered patients get to grow, you know, and a window for patients to register. You want more patients in the program? There you go.
Well, what
I
he told me only certain patients. So we have to decide
well,
who's really sick and who's really,
well, who is gonna decide
Yeah,
that?
but that's
But why
for
not
the,
everybody? Why not everybody? In other words, other states letting everybody, and I'm always saying, listen, let's look to other states. If the sky was falling in another state, don't you think Nick Scutari would have told us about it? It isn't. It isn't a problem that they're indicating it might be, and it drives me absolutely mad that that's the whole purpose of not having a country with different states. You get to figure out stuff where in the country how it works and look at it, and that we're not doing it is it's purposeful and it's hurtful to patients. And home grow, I get to back away too. It's the one thing I need to make sure I help see through. After that, it's always going to take fixing. Our alcohol laws uh, are still being modified everywhere. I mean, everything always does, you know. And it was Nick Scutari when he wanted legalization, who said it wasn't happening fast enough, and he said, "Listen, we need to get a bill ready, and we need to get a bill passed, and we can't let perfection be the enemy of the good. We have cleanup bills when things go wrong and when they need adjustments. But when he kept saying we can't let the search for a perfect bill be the enemy of getting a good bill, and that's exactly what he's doing now. Oh man. Phew. Okay, I'm done.
got me fired up. Well, you
No,
just
I can't help it. You know,
okay. So this is what I would like to do. I would like to offer our help to you. But I think I'm about it in Jersey. I have to get my, my hands out further to see where anybody is in, within the professional regulations and what have you. And that won't take me long to do. That's not a big deal. But I have to, I need a little bit of tutoring, and I think Lefty will give me that when he and I meet, on what's been going on in Jersey. And also, you know what? There is nobody up here in Bergen County and Hudson County doing anything because they don't have to. So, but there needs to be something. There needs to be a voice coming from here too. So, think about that. Think about, I'll get you the people for it, but it's got to expand. You agree? Disagree?
I totally agree. How do
Yeah.
the nurses feel as a whole about home grow? Can they get us write a letter maybe or something? I'm
We can write all the letters you want, as
yeah.
long as it's federally still illegal, you know. I've been writing letters for years. I'm that patient cannabis wall.
Mm.
I wrote that letter, you know. So yeah, I mean we'll do whatever, because it helps us too, helps us, expand into into what we want to practice, I mean, I just my mouth just practices, that this is it for me, I'm pounding the pavement and that's all I'm doing. Um,
I'm glad to see the
but we
help
have a
of
whole
reason.
network of nurses that, they want to, they want to extend themselves, they want to expand, and they need to know that. See, what we have is we have what they like to call that safe space, that safe place where you could say anything about anything and nobody's going to call the board of nursing on you, and you can do anything and whatever. Okay. So that's what we have. And we have a lot of educational opportunities and what have you, all the little frilly stuff that everybody needs. What they lack though in my network also is that whole grassroots organizing. That's what I come from. So this stuff, I can roll this out easily. I just need, a little bit of help. That's all. And you guys just tell me which way to go and I'll go.
Yeah. That's what we have Lefty for. He has a pretty good sense of direction, and
Yep.
but he always looks for others' opinions rather than here's what we're gonna do. So, you'll be a very good blend, and your opinions are valued. So
Yeah. Yeah, I think we come from the same cloth.
I think so. Yeah, I do.
The passion we have is because we've seen the suffering of patients, and that's what it is.
Seriously. Seriously.
That's why it's easy to be on the same page, because we've all seen it.
Mhm.
And it's like, okay, it needs to stop, and it's not stopping. Why is it not stopping? Well, we're going to fix that problem soon.
Yeah.
I wanted to,
Yeah.
I'm good at times any to update. That was Brian Cummings that called me, and he's not doing well. He's really not doing well. Brian Cummings was coming to the podcast 10 years ago when he found out he had MS, and we have a mutual friend. I hadn't met him, and he mentioned, well, Cheryl, Jim's wife, had
Yeah. I remember that. Yeah.
chronic progressive MS,
Yeah.
not relapsing. And Brian wanted somebody to tell him how it's going to go, and I didn't sugarcoat it for him. I told him exactly how it was with Cheryl. I'm saying
Yeah.
it's different with everybody, but it's been not just more vicious with him. It's allowed opportunistic other things to happen. So he's has cancer of around where the appendix is, and he's having something taken out in 2 weeks. He also has skin cancer. He also has, oh geez, he has so many things that are hitting him at the same time, and his life is doctor appointments, and his wife isn't real supportive.
Mhm.
I think it's a kind of a chore for her. He's not on his own for completely. I'm gonna stop over and see him probably. I don't know if he can have visitors by Sunday, because I'm gonna be in Tom's River. And
Where's he
he's
from?
he's Lavalette.
Okay.
And I asked him if he'd tried any oil. And he goes, I have no access. I have no way out. I have no. I said, Brian, so like he's going without his fill of cannabis, whether it be oil or however
Mhm.
else, and it's not a real good path. Right now I just want to be a better friend to him, because it's kind of hard for me to get over and do stuff, but I know he really appreciates it. And I've been over his house several times, and we've done things together over the 10 years. And it's just all coming on the same day. I feel more hope.
Yeah.
And he advocated and came to podcast a lot. Dumped himself out of a scooter one time. It's been an experience. But I also think at this point he'd be willing to advocate however he can, whether it be video. And I'm not stopping over to get video of him, and then we can do things. It's just I'm gonna be over there, and I know he'd like to take part, and he'd be okay with, and homegirl for him would be a good thing. I don't imagine his wife would help him, and maybe she wouldn't even want that to happen, but that's not the point as far as him advocating, because he always did what he could. He's been inside the state house to the offices I was talking about, to the Senate Majority office. We went to hand deliver stuff to senators, and even the Senate president has an office there. It's walk right in. And I'm 25 minutes away. I'm gonna start making use of that. Those 4 offices. You can't walk into their actual legislative offices, but you can go in and rat them out. And this is where the conversation should be had, so that people who are watching out for the majority party image and brand and all that, they're in those offices. So I
Mhm.
don't have to go in demanding anything. I'm gonna be the hurt party. And just do that a little more often. I'm kind of looking forward to that.
I think a good old fashioned sit in would be
Yeah,
wonderful.
the first time somebody doesn't negotiate or give due process to what we're doing,
Mhm.
yeah, that will be an inevitable thing. And we weren't just gonna do that. What's on the boards would be a 3 people visit to Senator Scutari's house to stand with signs between the curb and sidewalk facing away from the house for a couple hours with signs ratting them out. Nothing, not even looking at the house. The opposite of
Mhm.
the most like just for a couple of hours. And the plan is to make sure the police know, so there's no knee-jerk reaction, and make sure he knows it's coming by way of an Esquire writing, here's what's going to happen. All
Mhm.
they're asking for is a Zoom meeting, like what we're doing here, discuss it.
Right.
That's it. Or I can show up. I'd
Mhm.
rather not, but I don't have money to give. I have no leverage. I have no political capital. All I can do is damage somebody's reputation when it deserves it. And I can easily enough say to him in the letter, Congressman Pallone will take your call. Ask him how this is going to work out. And then clip a picture to that of me with Cheryl's memorial wheelchair
That, yeah,
at
that
Frank,
picture.
at Frank Pallone's house
Mhm.
and say, it's not going to be a wheelchair. It's going to be 3 people with their backs to your house, shunning you, not the opposite of anything. And, so Chris was saying, well, it doesn't mean if I don't know something's going on, if I feel nothing's going on, doesn't mean that's the case. And I get that. I really do. And so
Mhm.
when he reminded me of that, and since he has more of an inside view than I do, because he has more contacts, and this is kind of what he does.
Mhm.
So we put off our plan. I put off our plans to do that because we would have been doing this probably next week or the week after. But to see, and I said, listen, I can see we're okay with a couple of months tops, not even that maybe. But if I don't see movement, Chris, we're showing up, you know? And
Right.
so now there kind of is movement. And I like saving that for the first time something needs a push. I love that idea. And it's something that's so low key, you know,
Mhm.
um, because I do believe this is going to have really huge support. Um, I know that Drug Policy Alliance, it was called back then, I believe,
Mhm.
when Roseanne Scotty, she actually was squawking at me because I was saying, you have the funds to do a survey. You can't convince people this is popular in New Jersey, having getting a medical marijuana law passed. And she explained all the reasons why they couldn't. It would be $35,000 or so for a thing, and I didn't dispute that. And that we need all our ducks in a row. And they did that about 3 months later, not because I mentioned it, I'm sure it's something else. And it came back 86% supported, and 11% didn't, and 3% didn't know what to think. So it was really 8-1, 8-4 for everyone against it. And that just greased the skids from that moment on,
Mhm.
because the handwriting was on a wall that everybody could read then. That's all it would take for this, for home birth for patients. If there was the right questions asked, would people support that in New Jersey? Your general, and I think it would come up. I mean, 2 out of 3 people nationally support it anyway, or in the state, voted for
Mhm.
it. So they're the stall tactics, I think, have run down. And I'm just interested to see how Scooter, I call him Scooter, Scutari, because he scoots around the issue all the time. So, you know, and Scooter ran away from Lefty in a scooter.
Did he really?
I mean, no, I mean, well,
Did you
yeah.
catch him?
Well, what was it? There was stairs or something. They
I was
were
in my wheelchair and he went up the stairs and I couldn't
uh,
follow him in my chair. It's rude.
yeah. But anyway, and all this is coming together. You may not know this, but Lefty and Bong Holio, Mikey, uh, like they want a ticket to see a Springsteen concert from the box, see the, what do you call it? The indoor, you know, what are
Yeah,
those?
yeah,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
the
Oh,
box
yeah,
office.
the owner
Yeah, it
of
was
the
box
boxes.
seats.
Yeah,
Yeah,
We're right next to
box.
Chris Christie.
Oh,
yeah.
whose box seats are they?
Oh, what? It's for whoever is at the football. It's at the state. It was at the stadium at the Meadowlands.
The
So
radio
Yeah,
station.
but somebody owns them.
The
yeah,
Somebody owns those seats.
yeah.
No, they just rented, I guess, the whole spot.
Oh,
Was
Well,
okay.
but
Okay.
food.
so Lefty and they had tickets in. So, but what the hell? After the whole night, open the door and they see people because there's a whole line of these
Right,
things,
right.
and
I
they
know.
see like, oh, it goes former Governor Christie, the former Governor
No,
Christie. No, Scutari first.
He
Okay,
walked
yeah,
past us.
Scutari, but he went to
He walked
Christie's,
into Chris Christie's suite.
his suite, so they followed him in.
We followed him in.
And then when Lefty asked him um, about this, he said, "Yeah, well, we've been talking about this a lot lately, and you know, he brushing it off. But the question is, who's the we? Let's say we've been talking about it. This is like when Donald Trump says, a lady walked up to me the other day. No, she didn't. Come on, and I hate being played like that from the likes of him. So we're already it's kind of too late for him. It's time for him to negotiate, or what's his escape route, from all
Yeah.
this.
Yeah, go away now.
But it's gonna come in the form of this bill being heard. It's so not scary for mature and for immature plants. Oh, look, that's so that they don't have to grow one, whatever. And as little as that sounds like, I don't think it makes a difference, because when it finally happens, nobody's going to be checking out how many plants, or it's just not going to
Of
happen.
course not. Of
And
course
that's
not.
and that's what he says. The problem is enforcement. He's calling it a problem of enforcement. And I'm saying that is not patients' concern. That's your concern. How about you enforce complaints? If there's a complaint, check it out. Otherwise, get lost. I like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Yeah,
nobody,
nobody bothers you once it's
Yeah.
one and done.
Well,
Nobody bothers you. Nobody
see,
cares.
people
They have
like,
other things to.
well,
You know what?
when Jeff,
They're gonna lay it on law enforcement. Law enforcement has other things to do.
and they know it. Yeah,
Yeah,
law enforcement
and they
knows
don't.
it.
They're not. Nah,
You know how we know that? We're going to too many superior court cases for the hippie tribe, where I used buy my medicine, and it was a whole thing and got shut down, and then we've been to like 3 separate county, and it's usually a postponement, or in one case dismissed with Willie Beamer.
Mhm.
And what it turns out to be every time is the hippie tribe shows up, and other people, and there's people rolling joints in their hands without ever, and you can't. There was a time we were there, you couldn't pass a joint because you'd have to trade it with somebody. Everybody had their own. I got 2. What am I doing here? And it is with the full smiles from law enforcement, sheriff's officers, everywhere. There's no.
Yeah, nobody cares.
It's so normalized, and this is like court. Bill, it's the last one we're at is the way out came toward this big circular area, concrete, a bench like thing, all the way around. Benches, just you could sit on the edge. A nice thing, and it's pretty sizable. They would have to walk right towards us, and what Lefty me, I think both enjoyed a lot, is this guy came out. What's going on? Why are you getting arrested? He was wide-eyed, and I was standing with New Jersey MedMan. He had a big one. He goes, I'm on probation. I'm here because of this shit. What's going on? He says, why aren't you getting in trouble? And MedMan is like very thoughtful, going, not breaking any laws. And he was, a selfie, taking a big hit after his thing in court so he could show people. But it was also the people in suits, and you don't know whether they're lawyers, people that work there. It could be anybody. Do you see anybody scowling at all? I mean, I didn't
Yeah.
catch bad vibes from anybody all day.
Yeah.
So, that's an easy gig. And matter of fact, Ed Fortune, aka New Jersey Weedman, his cousin by marriage, was at a court case, and he had jail without bail because they had 1.8 pounds. He was following Ed's path to going legal, and had conditional permits or something, Lefty, were the conditional licenses to, he was going legit, but he was funding it the same way Weed Man did, a little bit on the side. But what they did is he had 1.8 pounds, but he had a good amount of edibles, and they weighed them and combined it all for over 5 pounds so he could go without bail. But you
Melvin
can't do that.
Marrero. His name is Melvin.
9 months later, we're in court, and the judge is like, let me get this straight. The state police don't have a way of determining the content in edibles, and that's not the same as the plant. It's wrong. You shouldn't. He got it, and the lawyer for Melvin was shocked at the judge's demeanor because they'd been before him before. So yeah, he got out that day. And they're going to have to figure out how to come to a number and whatever. But Ed Weedman wanted people to show up, so he said, "Yeah, a free eighth to anybody who shows up," because he sells eighths. He's a legal state licensed businessman.
Still star coats. Yeah. I know.
Yeah, so he bought like his store's thing, and it was really pretty good. And only a couple people showed up, so he's here, Jim. Have another. Yeah, I'm good with that. But it's really different now, after 3 years after being legal, because I know law enforcement's got used to it pretty quick.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I
building I live in, there's 377 units here.
wow.
And it's a pretty young building, for the population that's in here. But the whole building smells like weed. And it does. It's just, that's
That's
it. That's
Yeah.
that's your air freshener. So it's just, I don't know, it's different. It's nobody pays attention. That's why all of this legal stuff, I get on my own pulpit, when it comes to the rescheduling bullshit, but it's crazy because nobody cares. You know what? Nobody cares when we were smoking weed, way back when I was 13 years old, right?
Yeah. Well, nobody
Nobody
cared
really
back
cared then either.
in the late 70s. It seemed like it was going to be legal. And
Right.
and
Yes.
then just say no. Just say no. Oh,
Just say no. Yeah.
What
Yeah.
happened?
But
just
we even
turned
started
around.
naming our weed. We had names. We had wacky weed. We had tie sticks. We had things
Skunk.
going on.
Yeah. I never
And
held much stock in a name then, and I didn't know anything about sativa indica. It's nothing weed. Oh, this one makes me tired. And I'm like, I don't know. This makes me feel good. And then I come to find out about all the
Yeah.
nuances and everything. But back in the
Sativa.
day, I was
Yeah.
helping somebody get some, and what kind is it? And I was tired.
Wacky
But
weed.
what kind? I said it was Ecuadorian blue. I made it up. Blue. Ecuadorian blue. I
Well,
swear
we
to
had
God.
wacky weed.
Yeah, but
That's what.
yeah, 6 months later, not this guy. I was getting some from somebody, and he said he had some Ecuadorian blue. I don't even know who.
Did you
Yeah.
laugh?
No, I
You
didn't
must
even
have
tell
laughed.
him. No, I didn't even tell him. It was more
That's
fun.
pretty
Like,
funny.
really? Is it any good? Yeah, it's Ecuadorian blue.
How good is it?
Yeah. You know, but
That's pretty funny.
it was harmless fun, but I remember it now. And oh yeah, I'm just glad to see all this happening. And
Well, you know what? I really, really want to help you guys all I can. And, I'm going to get a benefit for the network too,
Yeah,
because the network needs to grow. It's fucking union organizing
Yeah.
101,
Yep. Well,
So,
your view on things would be, it's like fresh eyes too, you know? And
Yeah,
from
yeah.
a not from you're knowledgeable, and you know, you're okay with advocacy, you're okay with, you know,
Mhm.
we'll show up. And
I'm
so,
okay with civil
yeah,
disobedience,
yeah.
all of it.
And you know, that you're a registered nurse, that's who you are,
Mhm,
as not
mhm,
what you are, you know. And it's that gets respect from people
mhm.
when you're talking about medical cannabis. You and I could say the same things, and it's going to sound better coming from you. So you're a fantastic addition to whatever loose knit ragtag bunch of vagabond we have, you know. But I'm liking, you know, I've taken sort of a break from CMMMJ. I mean, I'm a board member and I attend the board
Mhm.
meetings and all, but I stand out outside of the, you know, I pretty much have to offer a disclaimer when I do anything, that I'm doing this as president of Sativa Cross, or
Mhm.
as Jim Miller, patient advocate, whatever.
Mm.
You know, I don't need to be part of an organization or anything, but I do have a bit of seniority. You know, I actually found, I was in the shed and I found that first, I was telling Lefty, you know, it was about the first sign I made when I walked Cheryl's chair across the state in 1993. And, you know, California didn't have a law. Nobody, what do you advocate for in New Jersey? And all I had was, um, patients who a doctor would recommend this, if their physician is good with it, they shouldn't be subject to being charged with intent to distribute by virtue of having more than 50 grams, or an ounce or whatever. And, you know, that would separate medical use and recreational use as best I could. And I showed up at a sheriff's officers association meeting that James Holsap was speaking at, dick that he is. And I asked the question like that. And it turns out sheriff's officers don't like him. They don't like him at all. And when I said something to him about that, he said, there's no guidelines, there's no anything for that. And I go, really? Are you telling me you can find one instance where somebody was arrested with, say, more than 50 grams, and it wasn't a plea bargain, and had more than 50 grams and was not issued a citation or arrested for intent to distribute as well? It's the always plea thing. Yeah,
Mhm.
possession with intent to distribute, but I will drop the intent to distribute if you plead
Yeah.
guilty.
It's
That's
like when
like,
they
what?
give you a ticket.
Yeah, way of
Yeah.
life. You know, oh yeah, I could
Yeah.
bring that down to 69 instead of, you know, under 70 miles an hour, even though I had you at 72 if you signed right
Mhm.
here. But it's it's just different now.
Yeah.
Oh, and when I did that, um, none of the sheriff's officers that were all there, none of them even turned around, and some did this. They went like, when he said that, because all I could see was the back of their heads. They were facing the other
Mhm.
way.
Mhm.
And, you know, and but you know, I've always known that showing up was a part of it. And I know one day Cheryl got a kick out of it. I read in the morning paper, oh, Chris Smith, Congressman Smith's going to be riding on the big whatever bus it is for candidates in Ocean County, and they're going to be at Fridays, uh, you know, and 2 hours. So I got to get you changed, everything ready quick. And I went out and made a big sign. I took a wheelchair and put a sign in it. And I got there with information to hand out. And there he was when he came in the parking lot, and there was a semicircle of about 100 people and me behind them in the middle. And what he would do would be, he'd talk back and forth, but he never talked to the middle. He'd talk over here and then he'd talk over there, but he couldn't look at me. He
Mhm.
just couldn't do it, you know.
Mhm.
And the joy of it was only on the way out. The woman who was in charge of their bus came over to talk with me, and I asked her if she'd take a picture of me because the bus was ready to go. And she went and took one. Said, "Can you take another one? I wanted to be okay." And the bus is ready to go. And then I said, can I ask you a question? And she came back and I had some stuff and I said, was anybody on the bus? And I was trying to occupy her time.
Mhm.
And then when she finally turned around to go and took back some stuff, I looked at the bus, went, and then left. It was so much fun showing up. And
Yeah.
I like to find a sweet spot where I'm not aggressive particularly,
Mhm. Mhm.
but because when you're the hurt party, it's sort of like to just see what he just did. And they lose.
Yeah.
It's what it
Yeah.
is with Andrea too. She's just you can't disagree with her. You just
Mhm.
can't. I mean, not because she'll get mad. It's just because, yeah, we're gonna win. Things are different tonight. And that's not a Rolling Stone song. The rest of the words don't fit this case. I talk in lyrics sometimes, I mean, when I say
Okay.
something, yeah.
It's okay.
I mean, one time a guy said something about was doing something for picking up a check and I almost left it in the office and his office and I'm going to give it to my boss at my side job. And he said, yeah, don't forget to check. Yeah, Bruce is kind of funny about things like that. And I went, yeah, now you funny too, like doing a George Thorogood,
Mhm.
you know.
Mhm.
And he had no, it was so hard, I
You didn't get it.
the only thing that saved me then is I knew one of the guys and I was pretty sure, and I asked if he knew, hey, George Thorogood, one bird, one song, one deer. Yeah, okay. I said, ask him, tell him what just happened. He'll explain it to you. I gotta go. So I'm not gonna do that now. I'm feeling good. Usually I feel like shit after a meeting because it's a bunch of crap. And then,
But
you
you're having a
know,
good time right now,
I'm having a
right?
great time.
It's fun.
I'm feeling it's not stalled anymore. Like the
Mhm.
engine for 3 years. Now it's humming, not going
Mhm.
anywhere yet. But
Mhm.
it's like humming. I can feel it. And all little things. You show up, Brian, oh man, I haven't talked to him in a couple of months. I'm not being a good friend. And the timing of all of this, and oh, the bill could get a hearing. There's a lot of things,
Mhm.
you know, um, that are
Yeah,
just
I'm trying to
lining up.
catch up with you guys. Like I've
Yeah,
been printing out anything I can find,
yeah,
and I've got a stack to read.
yeah. Well,
Uh,
we're holding
so
a winning hand now. So when you get a little more
yeah.
feeling for what's going on, you'll see why I'm feeling finally excited after 3 years. You'd have to know what the last 3 years have been like, and not the long story version, just like how we got here and how
Mhm.
wrong it's been and how
Mhm.
easy it's been and how all legislators, nobody put up a fight. Nobody, not even co-sponsors. The bill in the Senate had more Republican co-sponsors than Democrats, and people can't figure it out why, but it's like, yeah, Republicans, they don't necessarily care about the bill either, but it makes them look good because they've been the party of
Hey,
no. Yeah,
recent.
they've been
What do you want?
you know that.
This is
Yeah,
the state of greasy palms.
yeah,
Come
but
on,
yeah, but what it is they
whatever
didn't
benefits them.
if the Republicans 5 out of 15, one third of their not one of them asked the majority party leader, Nick Scutari, to get out of the way. I'm a co-sponsor of this bill. I need the information that it holds, and you're holding that back from me. That's the check and balance system. Minority party, majority party. You keep an eye on them. No, they didn't either. And then I thought, oh, son of a bitch, they don't care. They knew it's not going anywhere. Let's sign on. We'll look good, and the bill won't get heard. Oh man, it's like it's a bizarre.
Jim, it's just like all the powers that be, they just put out all of this big hoopla about, descheduling versus
Uh,
rescheduling, and HHS has recommended, rescheduling to a Schedule 3, blah blah blah, and whether I agree with anything or not, that really doesn't matter. That's not what I was going to talk about. But it's not even coming up this year. You got people paying attention to that don't need to pay attention to that because the scheduling guidelines are clear. Okay. And really anything but descheduling is just a cruel joke on everybody
Yeah.
because it's not because cannabis is not a Schedule 3 narcotic. It's not a Schedule 3 anything. It's not anything. It's freaking basil.
It's a
You know,
weed. By
yeah.
definition, a weed is an
Remember when
unlawful.
when you wanted to sell a beet bag of weed to somebody when you were young, and you put a bunch of oregano in the baggie and rolled it up and said, "Here, if you needed $10," like right?
Yeah, I know somebody that did that when I was like 13 years old. I didn't even quite
Yeah,
understand it. And then
yeah.
I
But then
grew to
you got
understand
it
what a
after a while, right?
bastard he was, It said, you what, Oh well.
Yeah, but they always knew. They always came back and told you too.
Well, I had
That now I
police.
never did that. I never had to, but
I did have Point Pleasant police used to roust me and my friend. We'd go to Point Pleasant to hear music all summer, 25 years
uh-huh.
old. And they know that we have pot, and um one time um I said they're gonna be there, we're
Something like
driving
that.
up. Yeah, we smoked like 3 joints out of an ounce, went there, and still they showed up and walked us back, and they got that ounce, and they were wondering um how much was in there. And I said, well, nobody sells you more than you pay for. We bought an ounce and smoked 3 joints already, so it's going to be under 25 grams and not an ounce. And that was 1977, and they thought, yeah, we don't want to take, this would be our night, and we can do better than this. They thought they could catch a better fish that night or whatever. And not like that now. I
No,
mean, it is now, but I mean, it wasn't like that for decades
no,
after.
no, not at all. I mean, you
Yeah.
got pulled over in some of these
Ah,
outskirts in Jersey, like where you guys live.
oh. Well,
That's just
if you had a van and a hair and God forbid a beard,
you got pulled over.
all
Okay.
the time, all
Oh,
the time.
okay. One day I was
I
with
didn't know
these
it's
three.
Fourth
I
Amendment.
was with three other people. We were in Ogdensburg, New Jersey. Know where that is?
Yeah, I do.
Okay. Okay. So I'm tripping and I'm throwing rocks on a lily pad. And a friend of mine that just came back from Vietnam, he's throwing cherry bombs into the lake because he thought he thought he was in Vietnam again. That's what he thought. And
Yeah.
and so the police come and they ask us what we're doing, and nobody answers very cohesively. And so they found some pot, and they made us follow them to the police station in a car. Okay, now that's not
That's
anything.
kind of funny.
Yeah, it was really funny. It should have been like a Cheech and Chong movie.
That
Okay,
was pretty funny.
it was really very funny. And all the way there, we were throwing joints out the window. We were throwing pills out the window. I mean, whatever we had, we were throwing out the window. And finally, when we were there, the I guess the arresting officer, he said, "Well, who's 18 here?" And the guy that came back from Vietnam was 18. And he said, "Me." So he said, "Okay, so like we're arresting you for possession of marijuana and over whatever the grams were, 25 grams." And he said, "Okay." So let it, he said, "We'll be right back. We're gonna go get the judge." And we were like, "He's gonna get the judge then?"
Wow.
Like, we're from Patterson, like we don't see that kind of stuff. Came back with the judge. The judge had like his little own jury going on there, and he gave him he set bail at $50. We gave him $50. We all left, and that was it. End of story. He never went back. They never looked for him. It was fun. It was fun.
Fun times.
Yep. Yeah. All right. It's what, 8:44. My time says.
Well,
So
thank you very much for coming on. We're going to talk some more next week.
yes, we are.
So
And
we have
then
we have
yeah,
more to talk about.
yes, we have a lot to talk about. And then Jim will all talk. Okay?
I want to thank CMMNJ, Canasense, UFCW, Local 152, Jackson Storms, Smoking Monkey, Arlo Glass, OprahMachine.com, and sativacross.org, where you can donate on the shop page on sativacross.org. Our list starts with Cheryl Miller. Cheryl Miller is Jim's wife, a late wife, who, well, you know the story. Amazing activism, and really changed my mind about medical cannabis when I met Cheryl, because I thought cannabis gave you the munchies, and that was it. And then I found out what it did for Cheryl, and I was just blown away that it was this endocannabinoid system that we have in our bodies, and it helps so many different things, and opened my mind to a lot of things that I was ignorant to. And I realized that our government lied to us, and my parents lied to us, and everyone lied to us. And yeah, it was eye opening when you become woke. I guess I'm woke now. I became woke to a lot of things in my life, and cannabis was one of them. Learning about the racism, the why it's even illegal because of racism and sexism and all that. I didn't know any of that. That's the stuff I learned from after I saw Cheryl. I learned about it. I did a deep dive on cannabis, and I joined the cannabis legalization movement. So thank you, Cheryl. But our list is very long and it's very sad. It's our second person is Sabina Rose. She was a 15-month-old baby who had a 25-hour seizure. I'm sure you've heard of her name before. Can you imagine having a 25-hour seizure? I mean, I can't imagine having a 2-minute seizure.
I
She had
can't imagine being the parent of a child having a 15-month-old child having a 24-hour seizure. It's a long 24 hours.
and she
Dravet
got
syndrome.
Yeah, Gervais. Yeah, she got caught up with the law. Chris Christie made Sabina get a psychiatrist to approve her
Yeah,
medical.
to become a patient, you have to be examined by a psychiatrist if you're not an adult. Well,
That's
she's
what
15
that's
months
what
old.
that's what Charlotte Fiji had,
Yeah,
Charlotte's Web.
Yeah.
yeah.
She had Dravet syndrome. She
Yeah.
died.
Yeah.
Oh
She
no,
passed through,
I
yeah,
didn't know that.
2 years ago. She was 13.
I didn't even know that.
Well,
Yeah.
she's on the list.
Yeah.
But she
Oh,
was, you
okay.
know what?
I,
They didn't
I,
expect her to last that long, but
Yeah, no, I know
yeah.
she's
Well,
one of our heroes on this list.
well, Brian and Megan Wilson moved to Colorado pretty quick after Sabina died, because that was just their wake-up call. We're not allowing our 3-year-old
yeah.
Vivian to be here, and started a minor migration to Colorado to Charlotte's Web.
Yeah. So Sabina went
Charlotte.
to a psychiatrist at 1 year old. She was
Ooh.
about a year old. She spent a quarter of her life looking for a psychiatrist that could treat her or talk to her. And then once she found a psychiatrist, what do you think that went like? What do you think she told the psychiatrist at 1 year old? What do you think he told her?
Well, maybe different kinds of mobiles and get the reaction, and then surmise that she's okay. Exactly. It doesn't make any sense.
No,
And
but it took time away that she needed.
A year old.
A year old.
15 months. Yeah.
Some kids, they don't even talk at that age.
No,
Right.
no. So that time was wasted, and she was 2 weeks from getting her card when she died. The card was in the mail when she died. So her parents were in a tough position. Do you give your child something that the CPS can come and take your kid away, or do you wait and do it by the legal way and wait and watch your child suffer while you're waiting? I mean, it's a horrible position that they put parents in.
Yeah. Well, Diane Thornbacker and Terry moved also to Colorado, but it wasn't because their kids were patients. It's because Diane was an advocate, and they talked about hemp in school. And talking about hemp in school got her a visit from DIFUS. And that was it. She's like, hey, nobody's taking my freaking kids from me. And I'm not, so, Yeah, New Jersey kind of sucks with this. Anyway, yeah, the list is supposed to make people, we used to make people feel bad because we'd have a fun, nice podcast out in Trenton on, and it felt good, but we want to bring it down at the end, the reality check. But the three of us here already know it, so it's not like, I mean, it's like, I like to hear the names every week.
Bears here too.
Yeah, the last time you did it, I closed my eyes and I swear I felt like this every time a name. I mean, I would get a mental picture. It was like flashcards. I'm not going to do that again. I'm going to be looking right at it.
No, Bear's here with us. He's off camera, but he's over here just smoking weed. Just pull that mic over and just say hi.
Hey everybody, I've been here the whole time.
Yeah, he's here.
What up, bro?
He's off camera.
Yeah.
By design. Diane, Gracie, Cindy Mae, Marie, Jack, Joan, Randy. Now, Randy Robertson, they gave him the Whipple procedure. You know what the Whipple procedure is, right? Well, they wouldn't give him medical cannabis, but they gave him the Whipple procedure. Then they finally gave him medical cannabis after he had the Whipple procedure. So they did it like backwards with him. He should have had oil first. So, it's just so backwards. And he's in Pennsylvania, Randy. Polly Connolly, Bill Buckman, Chad, Jeremy, Colette, Matt, Troy, Russ, Roger Barber, who fought for his daughter to have nurses administer the cannabis in schools. Have you heard Roger Barber's name? Yeah, he was awesome.
New Jersey was the first state, not Colorado, not other, the first state to allow that Schedule I substance on school grounds and allow it to be administered by the parent. The nurse wouldn't even, the parent would have to come and say, "Here, honey," and it was something you drink. I mean, no smoking was it was ridiculous, that Laura had to drive there and back on a prolonged lunch hour in the middle of the rest of her day. What I mean is,
take her across the street. She had to take her 1,000 feet away across the street, give her the medicine.
Oh, what that was? Yeah, that was
bring
in the
her back.
beginning.
Now,
Yeah.
she's autistic, so thought she was going home. She's confused now. The child's confused because she doesn't know what's going on. It was a shit show. Just a shit show. Sick people, how they treat sick people. This list is making me mad today. Jay Arletto. Jay was my friend who, it was easier for him to get heroin than it was to get cannabis. And he called me up one day. He's like, I need to get on the program. And I gave him the information to get on the program, but it was easier for him to get heroin than to get a doctor to get you cannabis and spend all that money. He didn't have that kind of money. He still wouldn't have that kind of money if he was alive today. Ella Bagelman. I just saw Alfredo at Liquid. I saw him at Liquid Church, of all places. I jumped, "Hey, what are you doing here?" So his well, I guess it was his ex-wife.
Yeah, she had cancer.
She had brain cancer, and she came to Trenton a lot to help fight for our rights. Ella.
I know him.
Yeah,
I remember him.
Yeah.
Yeah. Ella Bagelman. Sweetheart. Hattie Koshel. That was my grandma. I used to go bring a vape bag to her. And I'm like, "Okay, Grandma, we're going to test your breathing today." And I'd give her the vape bag. And she liked
volcano vape bag.
the volcano vape bag. And she liked it. And so when I would go
breathing test.
and she would be like, "Edward, are we going to do the breathing test today?" I'm like, yeah. She would start asking for it because she knew what she knew. I was hooking her up. She knew.
This is so sweet. I love that.
Jackie Rickard, Anthony, Jake, Armando, Felicia, Lynn, Dan, Sean, Joyce, Lori, Frank, Brian, Flo, Carl, Thorne, Frank, Lorraine, Terry, Charlotte, Figgy. Cher, Jaybird, Michael, Marley, Colette, Brendan, Red, Rico, Lulu, Becky, Lawanda. That's Bear's sister. She passed from cancer. And she didn't have access either. She was in New Jersey, right? Yeah. She didn't have proper access. I'm sure she had some, but not what she needed. No. Chip and Jeff.
Hmm.
Jeff's
you?
memory just came up. Jeff's memory just came up the first time he spoke at the council meeting. It was February. And he would go to these meetings with a chemo bag strapped to his hip. Like once or twice he did that. And he would go there sick. He would go to these meetings because they would ban medical cannabis in New Jersey. And he was so mad that they would ban his medicine that he needed. And he would go there and plead to these councils. And after a while, they would just, sometimes they would understand. And sometimes they would just, it was a brick wall. And that's when Bongholio would come out. Because that was our nuclear option. When you're a town and we go there and we pour our heart out to you and beg you not to ban medical cannabis, we would go there before they banned it and beg them not to do it. Then they would do it. In spite of you just hearing cancer patients and people with MS begging you not to do it, asking you, how far does someone in a wheelchair have to go to get their medicine? How far would you push yourself in a wheelchair to get your medicine? So, yeah, this list makes me mad tonight. Sometimes it makes me sad. Sometimes it makes me mad. Where is it?
Okay.
No,
It's
that's
making me sad.
Okay.
that's not it. I'm the worst DJ ever.
Are you feeling mad? Are you?
I'm the worst. What'd you say, Jim? You're muted.
Yeah, Jackie Rickard, she advocated in New Jersey at Chris Smith's office while she was here for to have we're protesting against I think it was I can't remember if it was, I must have been Al Gore, I think, when he was running for, yeah, that might have been it. You know, we protested at Frank Ballone's headquarters too, but she came and went back to Chris Smith's office because I've had Cheryl and I have been there, and Loretta, chief of staff, had us in, and then I said, listen, we're going to be going in about 20 minutes. So I'm going to give Cheryl actually, it was cannabis candy from Chad Berry. He made good candy. And it wasn't like Maywee, and it wasn't like she gave a shit. She seemed so interested. And I was like, see, because Cheryl's getting a little stiff, and she'd do that. And I said, so I want to get this. And she said, oh, okay. And then we stayed about a half an hour, and she was just fascinated. So Jackie, before she died, she got to come to New Jersey and be part of an exclamation point. And now she's part of a list. Yeah, that's shitty. There's a lot, and I've really spoken. I mean, more when the media is around, and gotten pretty forceful at times with, come on, we all know within 1 mile radius of here, there's somebody crying out in pain right now and cannabis would help, and they can't afford it, and their kids are listening to it, and the wife's listening to it. It's happening right now, and I mean, I just get lost in it that I know it, but we need them to come out in the open and beg. Like, it's so wrong. And why I like that we get to advocate for them. And I don't know, it's quite a coincidence that Brian called, and I'm gonna be calling tomorrow because, like, it makes me feel really bad, you know. I mean, I've watched him go from perfectly healthy, just asking me about it, and I've watched him go down this, I guess it's been 10 years, 9, 10 years. Think this happened before I hurt my feet, I might have known. But not that long really to lose what he's lost. How long was it? Just last year. He wanted to show
How old
people.
is he?
He's probably about, I would guess 55-ish or something. You know, I'm not real sure.
Where's his primary source?
What's that?
Where's his primary source? Do you know?
No,
Okay.
no, I don't.
Yeah.
It's yeah, I'm gonna get together and see what his situation is. And I don't know what can be done, but I know he really likes, we had a lot of good conversations, you know,
Where does he live?
Lavalette. Yeah, he
Lavalette.
said,
That's right.
yeah,
You said that before.
yeah, and it's a
Down the
house,
shore.
yeah, it's a house, it's on West Point Island, so it's technically
Mhm.
a small, you know, island. It's a nice place. It's got a
Do you
built-in
know where
pool.
he goes for treatment?
Uh,
Does he go
well,
to
his
Jersey
opera,
Shore?
well, no, yeah, he goes,
Jersey Shore?
it's freehold at times. And they have an MS diagnostic center. They're a pretty main one, or, you know, or MS concern
Yeah,
at the
yeah. And
hospital.
then Jersey Shore that's a good
Yes,
place.
well, I don't, he's gonna be having the operation at Community Memorial Hospital, which, you know, it's just,
Oh, I just
yeah,
organized that place.
really? Yeah, it
Yeah,
used
I
to have,
did. I
yeah,
did. You know what? I, are we on camera? Are we live? Can
Lefty.
anybody else see us?
Yes.
Yes? Okay, never mind. Um,
Never mind.
the story for another.
So,
Yeah, we're still live.
sound like Rosanna's
I
Anadana.
could end the podcast. So
It's
Never
actually,
it's a
mind.
bit, yeah,
I am going to end the
it's
podcast. And so hang on a second. Let me end the podcast and
Yeah.
we can do anything that we want to do in private. So here, this is what we do. This was written many years ago, and it fits activism. They went with songs to the battle. They were young, straight of limb, true of eye, steady. I messed it up, didn't I? That's the first time I messed it. You know,
You got the
music is messing me up, but I got to get through it. I got to get through it.
You learn something.
I got to get through it. That's funny. They went with songs to the battle. They were young,
Straight of limb.
true of eye, steady on the glow. They were staunch to the end against odds uncounted. They fell with their faces to the foe. They shall grow not old, as we that are left grow old.
Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn.
At the going
down
of the sun, and in the
And in the
morning,
morning,
we
we
will.
will remember them.
that was beautiful.
Oh, hold on. If I end the meeting for all, hold on. I have to just end the.
Well, while you're ending it,
Hold on,
that
we're not ending it. Hold on. We're still.
no, I can talk about this. This is
Yep.